Well, hello, Deborah. It's nice to see you again. How are you?
Oh, hi, Kim. It's great to see you as well.
How's
I'm
your
doing
day?
great, thank you.
Oh, how's your day going so far?
Oh, it's going great. I've had a beautiful day so far. The weather's great. My granddaughter was here spending the night. We had a great time. So,
Oh,
good day.
very nice. So first of all, our dear friend and my fellow coach Jill recommended your book to me after the recent passing of my almost 17-year-old dog.
Oh,
And she knows I've gone through a lot of grief in the last, I don't even know how many years with people and animals. So I've had a lot of different situations, and your book is just what I needed. It was fabulous. I loved it. And so maybe you can tell us, how did this book come about?
well, first of all, thank you. And I want to thank Jill for, connecting us. And, she's a dear friend of both of us, I believe. And I just really appreciate her. Um, my book is actually decades in the making. It wasn't the book that I intended to write, but it's the book that came out of my heart. And I've experienced quite a bit of grief over my lifetime and some horrific, types of grief. And also, first, I want to, let you know that I'm terribly sorry about your losses. And, I think we're all connected by grief in many ways. And it doesn't have to just be through death. It can be any life event that, knocks you off kilter or distresses your heart, or sets you on a path of rediscovery. And so, in going down my path, I became very aware of our culture's nature to sort of dismiss grief as quickly as it comes. And I felt the need to examine it and talk about it and try to raise the cultural bar towards our response to grief.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So is there a reason you went this in this direction instead of another direction with this book? Something
Well,
happened?
yes, my significant other and the absolute love of my life died very unexpectedly and suddenly 2 years ago. We were dancing at my son's wedding, and he collapsed and died on the dance floor.
Oh,
And it was a horrendous, horrific, tragic loss for all of us. But it was multi-layered because uh, of the event itself. It's traumatizing when you are in celebration and everybody's happy and dancing, and then all of a sudden the bright lights come on and you are in the nightmare of your life.
oh,
And um and we were madly in love. We were
oh,
just so connected, and um we had built our family, and we were just happy. We were just so happy. And in an instant it was over. Um and so I was faced to not only put my life back together, but to navigate through a very challenging journey with my kids, my sons and my grandchildren and everyone who was touched, total strangers who came to our sides that tragic evening, offering love and support and CPR and so much love and so many prayers. And I'll never forget, at one point during that night, I had 50 people surrounding me, all in prayer, praying out loud together.
oh,
Total strangers that I didn't know. And you
oh,
know my sons, doing everything they could to try to save John's life. And then the aftermath of, my, sadly for my son and daughter-in-law, it doesn't paint a black color over their wedding, but certainly, it's something that doesn't go away. You have to incorporate the loss and the celebration of love all together. And so, in walking that path again, I realized a need for people to be able to openly and honestly express their grief, and to, for us to collectively embrace one another in our grief instead of the culture's nature to dismiss it, which really pushes people into isolation and depression.
Yeah, it
And
does.
so, I sort of started observing how I was treated during my grief process and listening to other people express theirs. And there became this common thread between all of us who were talking and sharing, that our culture could just use an off ramp in terms of how we deal with grief, or rather really don't deal with it very well.
Yeah, I think because grief is kind of scary for a
Oh,
lot of
it's so
people.
scary, and I think people sometimes feel like it might be contagious, like,
Oh,
I don't want to talk with you. I don't want to talk to you about your grief. I don't want to share in that because that could touch me, in some
yeah,
way, and I'm not prepared for that. So if you'll just get over it really quickly and we can all move on so we don't have to think about it or talk about it.
yeah,
But that doesn't help the grieving, you know.
right.
It might help somebody who doesn't want to talk about it to dismiss it, but it's really hard on the grievers when we dismiss their feelings and dismiss their despair,
Yeah.
you know.
You said in your book, reading and writing would serve as the deepest and most impactful way for me to deal with my family, my reality. I've read it wrong. Reading and writing would serve, you're like, why did I say that? Reading and writing would serve as the deepest and most impactful way for me to deal with my reality. Can you talk a little about that?
Well, sure. I actually share in my book that just a few weeks or months prior to John's death, he had asked me to write about our love story. And I had sort of shrugged it off and said, oh, sure, one day I'll do that. And he literally grabbed me by the shoulders and said, no, I'm really serious. I'm asking you to please write our love story. So the next day, I went out and I bought this beautiful leather bound journal with a heart emblazoned on the cover. And I took it home and showed it to him. And I said, look, I found the perfect journal to, start writing our love story. And unfortunately, I didn't start writing until after his death.
Oh,
And I started writing in that journal. I wrote love letters to him every day, expressing my grief and my heartache and everything. So I used that journal as a means to get my feelings out and to be in communication with him, and to get all of my hurt out and grief and everything. And so and then I joined a writing group. My friend and writing coach, Valley, holds these wonderful retreats and workshops where you write for 10 minutes and then read what you wrote and write another 10 minutes and read, read to the class what you wrote. And I just joined one day and I was like, gosh,
wow.
this is very therapeutic.
Was that
And
hard for you to do that at
oh, it
that
was
time?
terribly hard. It was terribly hard. I entered that room every week full of despair and full of almost apologetically, you know, sharing with other people my grief, and knowing that it was hard for them to listen to it and hard for me to share it, but I just kept doing it. And over time, it got easier and easier. And Valley actually started encouraging me. She was like, you've got some really good stuff going on here. I think you should I think you should do something with it. And so I just started writing how I felt in chapter form. And when things would come to me, like the news or, something somebody said to me that was a little off-putting or downright, downright angering, I would write about it. Before I knew it, I had a chapter written.
And these
And
were
so
all were these all part of the love letters that you were writing to him?
some of it was, but a lot of it came from my processing, just the process and moving through the grief process and how hard it is because there's no guidebook. I mean, plenty of people have written about it. Plenty of people think they know how to do it, but until you're faced with it,
Yeah.
you don't have any idea.
Yeah.
And just the simplest things, people told me to stay busy. Well, staying busy for the sake of staying busy didn't help me.
Right.
So I wrote about that. I
Yeah.
wrote a chapter about that, about, it's not always, let's bring some rest for the weary. Let's talk about rest for the weary,
Yeah.
not just staying busy to get yourself through it, but what about soul care through this process? So with every thought that came along and things that didn't feel really good to me, I would just write about it.
So
And of
did
course,
you
feelings as well, because, my family has been incredibly supportive, and I don't know what I would have done without them. But because of their own burdens surrounding this, because of the way John died and where he died,
yeah.
I didn't want to burden them more because they were already burdened enough. And so writing really helped me get all of that out as well.
And did you only write once a day or did you write all day, all the time?
Oh my goodness. I wrote until I couldn't write anymore.
Until your hand
That's
was going to fall off.
what I did.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I said until your hand was going to fall off.
Well, it wasn't so much my hand, it was my heart and my head couldn't take anymore. I would
Yes.
reach my limit. And I honored my limits. If I could only write for an hour every day or even 10 minutes,
Yeah.
um, I would recognize my limits and I would stop and I would go and do something else and pick it back up. I will say that probably for the last 2 or 3 weeks until I finished the book, I wrote practically nonstop because I was determined to finish it.
You're so
It's also not
inspiring.
late.
That's great.
Well, thank you for saying that. To me, it was just something that I had to get off my heart.
Yeah. Well, good job.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you.
In your book, you mentioned how having a morning ritual is important, and you spelled morning with a U, which I
I
found
did.
clever. And you said a morning ritual can help provide a roadmap to healing a broken heart. When all else seems lost, you can begin to trust in your own power and believe in the most important foundation, your well-being. Before you know it, you'll be leaning into your transformation one little sacred step at a time. And I completely agree with this. And I find my own morning without the you ritual something I can always depend on during times of grief. Can you speak more about morning rituals?
Sure. Well, over the years, I started to notice that grief is heavy. It can be so heavy, and you can feel lost under that heaviness. And I think it's human nature to get not lazy in that heaviness, but you don't have any energy.
Yeah,
So, it's really easy to linger in bed. It's really easy to stay in your pajamas. It's really easy to live up under the heaviness.
yeah,
And it takes a lot of courage and bravery to take those little steps forward, to get out of your pajamas, to create a ritual, let your feet hit the floor and make your bed so that you're not inclined to get back in it, you know.
Love that.
Wash your face, drink 16 ounces of water, make your favorite cup of coffee and sit there and enjoy it. Exercise if that's something that brings you joy. Those things that bring your heart comfort and your spirit some sort of gentleness is what I recommend. And so it's going to be different for each one of us. My ritual is not going to be the same as yours.
Right.
Yours isn't going to be the same as, Jill's. And so my encouragement would be to just make a short list. Don't complicate it. Just make a really short list of those things that you feel would bring you joy, whether it's a stretch or you're getting your water out of the way first thing in the morning, taking a long walk, or reading, or writing, journal for 15 minutes every morning. Do something that you enjoy and that you will find inspiring so that you can take the next step forward, which could lead to the harder things that you really don't want to do.
Yeah. Did you have a morning ritual before all of this, or did you just start fresh with a
Really
brand
didn't.
new?
I
Okay.
really didn't. I,
Yeah.
through trial and error, I suppose, and really wanting to feel better. I wanted to feel better.
Of
And I
course.
think that I think that when we are in this situation, no matter what we're grieving or what we're trying to heal from, it doesn't matter what it is. I think that we tend to, sort of get lost in it. And as much as we want to heal, it is work. It can be really hard, work that takes a lot of energy. And so I really didn't have a morning ritual, but I wanted to heal. I wanted to feel so much better that I started coming up with lists of, okay, what is going to make me feel better? And it might be short lasting. It might be 15 minutes of feeling better. But for that 15 minutes, I'm going to feel better and I'm going to enjoy that 15 minutes. And I may break down and cry in the next 15 or 45 minutes, but I'm going to have that 15 minutes of doing something that inspires me to take the next 15 minutes forward.
That's so great. I've had a morning ritual for decades,
Oh,
and
that's wonderful.
I'm finding that when I'm heavily grieving, I still do. I can, like I said, I can always count on my morning ritual. Even if I
Yeah,
don't want to do it, if I'm tired, if I'm sick. Oh, well, sometimes when you're sick, you have to rest, but most of the
sure.
time I get up and I exercise, I have my whole morning routine, and it really helps. And I've cried during my morning routine. I'll sit there, be riding the bike, just sobbing, but I'm still doing something healthy for myself. So I can
Absolutely.
always count on it because I don't have to think about it. And you probably at that point too, you don't really even have to think about it. You just get up and do it. And then you can think about more important things later, like you said, that you have to think about.
Yes, and it clears space. It clears space because you really get the most important things out of the way first. And I'm not talking about the to-do list. I'm
Right.
talking about the most important things in terms of self-care. And
Yeah.
so, I can relate to you and what you're saying about, crying through it. Um, I meet with a trainer, physical trainer, twice a week. And when John first died, I couldn't go. I just couldn't go. But she
Oh, of
kept
course.
encouraging me. She would send me text message and say, "Don't forget to breathe today,"
Yeah,
or take a 5-minute walk today. She was so encouraging and so kind. And when I went back in person, it was probably 3 or 4 months after he died. And I went in sobbing. I mean, sobbing. I'd
yeah.
walk in and go, I don't know what I'm doing here. I can't do
Um,
this. And she would say to me, "You can cry all you want to. You can sob for the next 30 minutes, but you're going to pick up those weights." And I
wow.
and I did. And I'm telling you, it was so powerful. It was just so powerful. And she just helped guide me through some of the worst and darkest days. And I exercised through them.
I love
And
that.
now I can say I'm the strongest I've ever been in my life. And I probably feel better than I've ever felt in my life.
Oh,
But but it took that determination, even when I was at my worst, having the worst days. I would say, no, this is really important. This is important for many reasons,
yeah.
but it is important for my well-being, and I'm going to do it.
Yeah, you are working through your grief in a healthy way.
Yes. Well, that's what my book is about. Let's not dismiss it. Let's do it. But let's do it in a way that is healthy and serves our higher nature,
Yeah.
and something that will eventually bring us to a place where we can genuinely say that we feel better.
Yeah. And you work through it instead of trying to escape it.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So important.
Absolutely. And you see so much of that and you hear so much of that. And it's promoted. It's promoted
Right.
in our culture. Oh, are you still crying over that? Oh, you're young. You'll meet somebody else. There's always this push to move it forward. you know,
Yeah.
well, you need to get over it. I mean, I've heard it all.
I know
And
you
and
have.
yeah, yeah. And there is a sense of a need for us to move it along. Let's move it along here quickly.
And they say, you jump over it, but grief will wait for you.
Oh, yes, it will. And it is going to have its way with you,
Yeah.
no matter if you are going to have your way with it or not.
That's, that's right. So in your book, you talked about soul care versus self-care. I
Yes.
love that. Talk about that.
Well, there's a lot of talk about self care in our culture. And I think sometimes people get it confused. It's very important. Hey, I love to go get my nails done. I love to go get a massage, nothing like it. And it's very therapeutic and healing. All of those things can contribute to your well being. Um, and and those things can be important, but I think it's even more important that we take care of our souls and our spirits, and that can be different for everyone. It doesn't have to be what it is for me. Writing is great for my spirit. Having conversations like you and I have had are just so good for my soul. Baking, somebody might want to bake a cake and they go, oh my gosh, my soul was fed today through baking a
Oh,
cake.
yeah.
It's whatever really makes your heart sing is what I consider to be soul care. And and not to generalize, or I don't know the word for it, but categorize, but women in particular have a really difficult time feeding their souls because they're so busy taking care of other people
Right.
and other things. And it's almost like they come last. And so they go, okay, I'll go get a 30-minute massage, or I'll go get a manicure, but they're really not taking the 30, 45 minutes to an hour on a regular basis, hopefully every day, to
Yeah.
say, what does my soul need
Yeah.
to function at the highest level that I can function? What does my heart need? What does my spirit need to do that? And I think if we start to really think about it, um, we could easily come up with 5 things that would be really important to us as individuals to focus on to feed our souls and spirits.
Yeah.
And
Good
make it
stuff.
important. Make it important.
Yes.
A priority.
Yes, that's a good word. Priority.
Yes.
Great.
Priority.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm going to talk about your favorite thing. Sometimes people don't know what to do or say when someone is grieving. Your book, oh my gosh. So I highlighted your whole book.
Oh my goodness. Thank you.
People want to
Oh, thank
say
you.
they want to help or say the right thing, but they often
Yes.
don't, and because they don't know, what's appropriate, what's not. And so in the situation, I was going to tell you, in the situation of my dog, somebody said, "How are you doing?" I was with my husband, and we said, "Well, we're kind of grieving the loss of our dog, like it just happened." And right away, he ignored us and started scrolling on his phone to show us a picture of his brother's puppy. And I thought, oh my gosh. So, and then another person I knew sent me an email a couple days after, and she said, "Hope you've had enough grieving process time." So,
Woo,
so in your
woo.
book, you give many examples of what not to say and what you would have preferred to hear. Can you share some of those?
Well, hopefully I can remember some of the ones that I came up with.
Yeah.
But instead of giving specific examples, I think, first of all, what was your dog's name?
Holly.
Holly.
Yeah.
And how long was Holly with you?
She was almost 17.
17. So 17 years of love and kisses, and
Yep.
she was your family.
She was.
So, that's one of the things that I would recommend. Ask about someone's loved one. I
Yeah.
don't care if it's a pet, I don't care. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters. We want to be able to share. We want to keep their spirits alive, right?
Yes.
Whether it's our dog or our cat or our loved one, our children, it doesn't matter. When you have loved and lost, you want nothing more than to keep the love alive and the spirit of alive. And for that, and for it to be acknowledged.
Right.
And so, again, and you give a perfect example of someone immediately dismissing your pain or you're needing to share. So it's so easy to dismiss and deflect, like your person deflected. So he couldn't deal with your heartache or engage in conversation about Holly. Instead, he wanted to deflect to show you a picture of his brother's dog. So you will find that in our grief culture,
Yes.
more times than not. And so I encourage people to say, I would love to hear more about your relationship. I understand that John was a wonderful person. Can you tell me more about him? Um, Name the person. Always use the person's name or dog's name, whomever, whatever. Always say, Kim, tell me more about Holly. Tell me more. I'm so sorry of your loss of Holly. You know, um, those things are so important. And I really encourage people to be thoughtful in what they say instead of using our cultural cliches or watered down, versions of what's been passed down generation to generation. He's in a better place. If someone told me that one more time, green bile was going to come out of my mouth. Literally. I wanted to, you and I chatted recently about wanting to have a green bile button where you just push it and green bile comes out of your mouth. So, one more person said that to me, I thought I was going to lose my mind. because John and I lived heaven here on earth, so to suggest that he's in a better place than what? And don't misunderstand me. I get that people believe that heaven's a better place on earth, and religious beliefs carry them through this difficult and challenging life that we lead. But we led a wonderful, vibrant, happy heaven on earth life.
Yeah.
So to dismiss that into, well, he's in a better place now, what does that mean? So there's just certain things I wish we would just drop and just say, I'm here to listen. I would love to hear more. I would love it if you would tell me more. If there's something, if I can come over one afternoon and we can just sit and talk, that would mean the world to me. Would you love to do that sometime? Can you think of any other examples I used in my book? I'd have to flip through it real quick.
There's so many. I wish I had it open in front of me. I should have, but yeah, there were so many.
Well, one of the other ones was, you're young, you'll meet somebody else. I don't want to meet somebody else.
Oh, that story that you wrote about that woman that was talking about,
I know the
does
one
he have a brother?
The
right?
funeral?
Does he have a brother or something like that? I don't know. It was
I think you're referencing, I was at a funeral and it was just shortly after John died, and it was hard enough for me to go to this funeral. And this woman came up to me and said, I heard what happened to you. And I heard that John was just a wonderful human being. And, don't worry yourself over it. You're young, you'll meet somebody else. And when you do, find out if they have a brother, because I'm looking for a man.
Yeah, that had me laughing.
And then she sealed it for me by saying, I hope you know how lucky you were.
Oh,
Oh, okay. Well, yes, as a matter of fact, we both knew how lucky we were.
right. Is that what, did you actually say that, or were you just thinking that?
No, I was thinking it I wasn't thinking anything, because all I was thinking at the moment was, get me the hell away from this woman. And a friend of mine was standing beside me, and she grabbed my arm and said, would you like to help me find the restroom? And I said, yes, I most certainly would.
Yes, please.
And we walked off, and my friend looked at me and said, what the hell? And I said, no kidding.
That's going in my book.
Those are good examples of what not to say to someone who's grieving, And, I haven't lost a child, thank God. And I can't even begin to imagine that, that type of heartache. But I've heard other people say, well, at least they have other children, or you can have another child, or, it's pretty, people can be pretty insensitive. And so, I just, just saying, my heart is with you, please tell me more. Or, just don't add to it. Just please don't add to the don't add to the heartache, is what I would say. Choose your words carefully. And if you don't know what to say, don't say anything,
Right.
And I hear people who are grieving say, well, it's really tough because you want people to say something, but you don't want them to say the wrong thing. And then people don't know what to say, so they don't say anything. It's this terrible position we find ourselves in because we don't know. But I think we can raise the bar and find out. I think we can study this a little bit more and give it a little more thought and a little more gentleness, and just say, I don't know what to say. I really don't know what to say. Words escape me right now. And really and truly, words are not going to help you right now.
Yeah.
But I am here to listen. I'm here to listen. And I'm here to sit with you. I'm here to cut your grass.
Yes.
I'm here to pick up your child for a play date for 2 hours on Saturday. I'm here to take some of the burden off of you.
Yeah.
Will you allow me to do that for you?
What
And
about
then,
people who say, if there's something I can do, let me know.
well, I think we need to stop saying that. I
Right.
think we need to say it because listen, a grieving person is not going to call you and ask you to do something. They're not going to.
Right.
Listen, even people who aren't grieving, we have a terrible time asking for help.
Yes.
It's something that, is tabooed in this culture of I've got it myself, I got it taken care of, I can handle it, I don't want to burden someone else. Well, for someone who is grieving, that has escalated even more. And so when you say to someone, let me know if there's something I can do, it sounds really kind, and it
Yeah.
is. I'm not dismissing it as
Right.
anything but. Um, it's very kind, but it doesn't get the job done. It doesn't get the grass cut. It doesn't get the house cleaned. It doesn't get a diaper changed. It doesn't it doesn't do anything. So instead of saying let me know, just say I would like to bring dinner to you. Would Thursday night be acceptable?
I like
Is
that.
Thursday night a good time for you? I would like to cut your grass. I plan to be there Saturday morning at 10 o'clock.
That's great.
Um, my housekeeper's going to come clean your house this month for you. Um, Anything. It doesn't matter. It can be something so simple as I'm going to the store. Please have your list ready for me at 10 o'clock tomorrow,
Yeah.
and I will deliver them to your door. I mean, it's these things that are so impactful and so powerful to someone who doesn't have the energy to brush their teeth.
Right. I heard this is kind of funny, but I heard George Carlin talking about this very
Oh,
thing.
George Carlin?
I don't know if you heard this one, but he said when somebody says, well, let me know what I could do, then you say, yeah, go clean my garage.
Exactly. Yeah, could you do that for me? I'd really appreciate that.
Yeah. What
You
can I
know,
do? Just go clean my house and my garage. It's so
yeah.
fun.
Oh,
Oh,
absolutely. Some of the things that people did to me were so simple, and I've made it a practice to if someone close to me is grieving, I give them a gift of a wind chime.
oh, that's a good gift.
Yeah, and I've just started this practice of I'm going to send a wind chime.
Oh, I'm going to use that. Thank you.
Isn't it
Thank you for the
great? Isn't
idea. I
it
love
great?
it.
And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
in honor of John. I'm gifting you a wind chime.
Oh,
Um, you know, but some of the simplest things that people did for me, of course, you and I've chatted before about the food that shows up.
yeah.
Enough food for 5 armies will show up. And that's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. And there's so much love in that. But I recommend you show up a month later. Show up a month later when everybody else has gone home.
Yeah.
Everybody, for 2 weeks, you are bombarded with love and food and caring and sympathy and comfort. And then everybody goes home.
Yes.
And 2 weeks later, you're still throwing the loaves of bread out because you can't eat it all. And then a month later, your door is darkened.
Yes.
And so really, really, I really encourage people show up later. My son helped me with this. My son's house burned to the ground.
Oh, yeah. I
And
read that. Oh,
yeah,
terrible.
and the day after it happened, people were so generous and so gracious and so wonderful to bring things, household things, toasters, microwaves, blenders, dishes,
But you don't have
But
anywhere to put it because your house burnt
there's
down.
nowhere to put it.
Yeah.
So now you are standing, literally standing in the rubble, and people are being so kind and gracious, and you want to be so thankful for it, but now you're faced with another problem. You're
Yes.
faced with another problem.
Yeah, you have all
What
this
do I
stuff.
do with all of this stuff? It's going to take me a year to rebuild my house. And
Oh,
he was the one who taught this to me. He was like, Mom, whenever anybody has any sort of tragedy, especially a fire, like, things are going to have to be replaced and rebuilt, and you're rebuilding your life, wait a year. Wait a year, because there's still going to be plenty of people who are going to be bringing food the first 2 weeks after somebody dies.
yes.
Or they're going to be bringing clothes and household items the first week after a house fire.
Yeah.
But they're not going to be bringing them a year from now. And that is when the grieving need it the most. And you know what? He's exactly right. He's exactly right.
I agree. That's not taught. You don't,
It is not taught.
yeah, you don't see
It's
that
not
anywhere.
taught.
That's so good.
Yeah, my 40-year-old son taught me something at 65, and I was so thankful and grateful for it. Because I'm like, you know what? You are exactly right. He said, yeah, I know, because I've experienced it. And he sat back and observed his grief to come to that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, if that happens to somebody else I know, I will know not to do that. I will know to show up a year later when they need money, food, household items, or a gift card to Bed Bath and Beyond.
Yes. Gift cards are good. And gift
Yes,
cards don't take up a lot of space. So
they don't.
if you do
They
give that right
absolutely,
away, give a gift card because
yes,
it's easy to
yeah.
store if
And
you
then go
want to do
back a year
something.
later and give another one
Yeah, I love
if
that.
you're
You have
able.
such great ideas. This
If
is
you're
great.
able.
Um,
Well,
go ahead.
if we just take 5 minutes to think about it, instead of our knee-jerk reactions of, well,
Yes.
this sounds good, I'll do this, or I'll do this, and get back to my life. If we just take 5 minutes and go, you know what, I could do this 6 months from now or a year from now, and it might have even more of an impact on someone's life.
That
If
is
we
so
just
good.
take 5 minutes to think about it.
Yeah. But we all want to do something to help right now.
Absolutely.
People
And
have
there's
good
nothing wrong
hearts.
with that. There's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with that either.
Yeah. Everybody has, I think, good intentions and good heart.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
some people
There's
don't know
no,
what to say. And then
yeah.
so they're afraid of maybe upsetting you if you mention the person to them. So they don't want to say anything, or they want to say the right thing that might encourage you, but it ends up being the wrong thing. There's so many things that people do. I think they all have good intentions, but
No,
yeah.
oh, there is no question. And I've taken a lot of heat for some of the things I've said. I have had people say to me, well, you're just being too hard on people. You know, they mean well. And I took all that into consideration.
And you
And
know that they mean well. You already know
my
that. Yeah.
yeah, my response is this. Of course they mean well, but that shouldn't mean that we can't raise the bar
I love
and learning how to do this a little better and a little more gently,
it. Yeah. Yeah.
okay? And to consider our thoughts and deeds before we do anything. One of the kindest things that somebody said to me after John died,
What?
the kindest thing, this sucks.
Right. Yeah.
This sucks. I hugged them and I said, thank you so much. They didn't say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for your loss. He's in a better place. You're young. You can meet somebody else. They said, this sucks.
Which is absolutely the truth.
And I was like, thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you. You get it. You get it.
Yes.
And it's so true. It's like, this sucks.
Yeah.
This sucks. Tell me more. That's what we should say. This sucks. Tell me more.
Right. Yes, I love that. You could put that on a bumper sticker. So in your book, I thought this was wonderful. Talk about your friend that you have and the established one word code.
Oh my goodness.
Tell
I
me
love
about
this.
that.
Okay. I love this so much.
Me too.
So, John died, and then I want to say, well, I'm not good with dates, so I won't do that. But shortly, sometime after John died, my friend and her husband lost their 21-year-old son to a tragic, unfortunate death that could have been avoided. Okay.
Oh,
So, layers of grief in that, could have, it didn't have to
yeah.
happen.
Oh,
And 21 years old, and it was just tragic. And so we found ourselves grieving on, on the grief path together. And one day she reached out to me and said, I am really having a hard time. I mean, I'm having a really bad day. I don't know if I'm going to make it through this day.
oh,
And I said, well, I completely understand. I'm having a rough day myself. So we're going to do this together. We're going to get through this day together. And she said, well, I'm going up to the corner. Well, the corner is a little dive bar in our close to our neighborhood. And it's just this hole in the wall, perfect burger and beer joint, you know? And and it's just a place that we all frequent and like because they have the best burgers you could eat, and they've got a big front porch. People go out and sit on the front porch and all that. So she said, well, we're going up there. Do you want to meet us? And I was like, I don't know, I don't know if I'm feeling it. And but I eventually agreed to go because we needed each other.
yes.
And so I met her and one of her girlfriends at the corner, and we discovered that they had a jukebox. They had just installed this jukebox. And we started feeding the jukebox.
Oh,
And before we knew it, we had moved tables on the front porch and established a dance floor. And people were coming in and out of the restaurant, joining us on the dance floor. And we were singing to our lungs, and
oh,
cars were going by, blowing their horns and engaging with us. And we had a wonderful time. And we turned our tears into, triumph. And that night, we said, okay, this has taught us something very valuable. We both reached out to each other in our turmoil, and we decided we were going to do something. And we did it, and it was healing for us in that moment.
yes.
So we established the idea of a code word that if we ever called or texted each other, that we would know that there was no discussing, there was no ifs, ands, or buts. We would be meeting at the corner at 6:00 p.m. that day. And there would be no excuses or anything. We would show up and we would hold one another and we would be together and we would dance.
Wow.
And I encourage it greatly because I'll tell you one other thing that I write about in the book as well. We all want to be needed. If there isn't a soul on this planet, well, I can't say that. There are few souls on this planet that don't want to be needed, right?
Right.
We all want to help. We
Yes.
all want to feel needed and we all want to help. So why not establish that idea with your friends so that if you find yourself in a state, all you have to do is send a code word And everybody knows what that is. And there's no questioning. There's not like, what's wrong? We all know what's wrong. And quite frankly, it doesn't matter what's wrong. We just need each other. And we need each other right this minute. And there won't be any excuses unless, something, something real would keep you from doing it. We're meeting at the corner at 6 o'clock.
And so have you done it many times since?
We have done it several.
Oh,
Yes,
I
we
just
have.
love that. And you guys came up with this yourself.
Yes, we did. And when we've passed it along, we're like, it's our code word. We have a code word. Her name is Melissa. She's one of my, she's a dear friend to me. And we have, we find ourselves on this God-forsaken path together.
Yeah.
And we're trying to make the best of it, especially on the days of the worst of it.
Wow. And you and her both have contributed to the saying the code word.
Yes.
And,
oh, yes.
And you don't say anything. You don't say what's wrong. You just say, okay, we're meeting there at 6.
Yes. See you there. It doesn't matter what's wrong. Who has time to talk about what's wrong when you're so
like in the middle of it. Yeah.
You're in the middle of it. The code word is there because you're in the deep end of the pond. You're in the deep end of the pond with no life jacket here.
And you'll find out at 6. You'll find out at 6
we don't need to talk about it. We can get a beer and go, what's going on here?
That's
feed the jukebox, get a beer, tell me what's going on. What's happening?
I love that. And then how many hours do you spend there? Like 3 or 4 hours or?
Oh, until we don't want to dance anymore or the tears are over, whichever comes first.
And so do you have to recreate the dance floor every time you guys go, or is it already now set for you? Like it's
it's not set for us, but they see us coming and they're like, oh, here we go.
Wow. Well, you guys must bring a lot of joy to that place.
I think so. They like to see us coming. Because
So
we engage with the people, they're all staring at us dancing like we're eating and you're dancing. Well, you can dance too. Come on, get up.
Do you do that? Do you actually say that? And
try to get yeah.
I want to go there.
Okay, come on. I mean, it's a tiny little place. There are probably no more than 10 or 15 tables in the whole place.
Wow. I just
and then there bar tables out on the front porch where people sit out there and smoke and drink.
Yeah. But I just love the code word. I think everybody should have a code word with one friend where they can do that. Because I think people, like you said, don't want to bother other people. They don't want to ask for help. But this way you're not. You're just giving a word and you're not saying anything.
And then if you do have that friend that even you feel comfortable calling, sometimes we just don't feel like going into the weeds of what has happened that has brought us to the point of the code word. I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble here, but I don't feel like telling you. I don't have the energy to tell you, but I'm in trouble here. I need you.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing, isn't it, Kim? Isn't that a beautiful thing when nobody has to say anything, but you know that there's a code word for I am in trouble.
Yeah, I love it.
I'm in trouble and I need you. And I just, oh my gosh.
And is your code word corner?
Corner.
I love it. You have so much there. I'm telling you, I really did. I highlighted like your whole book. I could just go on for hours. I cut it down to this, but there's so many other things that we could talk about. But guys, you need to buy her book. You need to get this book. It's not long. It's an easy read, and it's got so much good stuff in it.
Oh, well, thank you so much. That really brings joy to my heart because it's something that I had to get off my chest, so to speak, and it had to come out of me and onto paper. And when it was over for me. Like, I don't have any major attachment to it. I pray that it helps somebody else.
Oh, it
You
helped
know,
me.
any
Yeah.
little golden nugget that I've learned along the way in my journey will help one other person. That's all I can hope for, you
Yeah.
know.
Well, I got the Kindle version, and
Oh,
I didn't tell you
good.
this. My husband and I, since we lost Holly, we haven't really done anything in a very long time because we're always concerned. We had another dog and two cats. Everybody's gone, but we didn't really go do anything after we had the animals. So we've been trying to do all new experiences lately.
Oh,
So what
that's
I said to him,
wonderful.
I said, I want to do, I thought I just pulled this out of a hat. I go, why don't we go to different towns and go to their libraries? And so we've hit
Fun.
10 so far. And so we go to the library,
Really?
we take pictures, and then we sit there for at least half an hour and we see what we like, what we don't like. And a lot of them are really noisy. Anyway, I said I want to go to like 50 libraries and then I want to write a book about it at the end of the year. But when we started doing this, I had your book. And I would sit there in each library and I go, gotta read some more. And then we have to leave and go to the next one. But it's like I couldn't get through the book fast enough. And I'm trying to highlight. And
Goodness.
so thank you
Thank you
for the
so
start of
much.
our library tour. It's
Oh,
been,
I love it so much. And I love what you're doing. I love that idea. You know, Julia Cameron, who's one of my favorite authors, and an artist and author, but she wrote a book called The Artist's Way. I
yes.
don't
And
know if
I
you're
looked that
familiar.
up. I mean, I've looked it up before, but I never really got it. But then you quoted it and I'm like,
Uh,
I think I have to get this book. So I have it on order right now.
oh, great.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to love it, especially given what you just told me about you and your husband taking these date trips,
Yeah.
because she encourages you to date yourself and to establish a date day every week and go and do something like you're describing. And it's so interesting and fascinating, to go on a date, whether you're with someone else or not, um, and do something that is fun and interesting to you. And that's what it reminded me of.
Yeah, and different too. I just think
Yeah,
it's good for our brains to do new things and different things all the time.
absolutely.
So I
Oh
can't wait
yeah.
to read the rest of that book. I mean, I got your quotes out of it, but I want to read the whole book and hopefully
Oh,
it'll be here soon.
she's fantastic. She's got several books out, and she just keeps going. She just keeps going and going. She's like the ever ready bunny. She
Yeah,
just but she's just fabulous, and she has such a great um wisdom to share and
yeah,
encouragement, for artists.
I love it.
Aren't we
Um,
all artists? We're all artists.
we're all artists. We all have
We're
some
all
form of
artists.
creativity in us,
Yeah,
even if we don't think we do. Because I used to tell people I'm not creative, but
I
I
know.
am. I found out in the last couple decades that I am pretty
You
creative. So
absolutely
I'm
are.
excited to read that. But are you working on another book right now?
Everybody asks me that. And I have the stirring of it because, as I told you, this is not the book I intended to write.
Right.
I have had a book in me for 30, 40 years. And it's a book about my life experiences and my childhood, which was, pretty challenging, and some things that I experienced as a result of abuse and neglect and,
Mm.
all kinds of things, grief included. And, I never knew where to start. I didn't know how to pull it together in a way that makes sense because it's a very convoluted, conflicting story. And every time I tell it, somebody will stop me and say, wait a minute, I need a diagram. I need this mapped out for me because it's that convoluted. And and so I never knew where to start. And then after John died, and he had asked me to write our love story, but I couldn't really write our love story without my story, because our stories led to our story, our
Right.
individual life experiences and everything. We met later in life. So our experiences and our lives sort of melded us to be able to be together.
Yeah.
And so I really didn't feel that I could tell our love story without telling the whole story. And then after he died and all this came up with the grief and everything, and I do touch on my story, a little bit of my
Yes.
story in my book to give I did it really to give credibility to what I
Yeah,
was
you did
saying.
it in a great way too.
Oh, thank you. But now I do feel the stirrings of starting on that book. I'm starting to feel it and to have the sense that, okay, it's time. I don't think it will go as quickly as this book went because it is so convoluted and it
And
is
this is a
so,
bigger, and this will be a bigger chunk of your life that you're talking
oh,
about.
it will be.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But without all of that experience, this book would not have been possible. And so I'm really grateful and thankful for it. But I know how the dots connected. And I wouldn't have had the strength or the wisdom or the courage or anything to be able to write this little book without all of those experiences. And so I feel better prepared to write that book because now I'm not as scared.
Yeah.
Because before when I would write, I was writing from my head.
Yes.
And then when I did this book, I was like, all right, girly girl, now is the time for you to drop from your head to your heart and just write from your heart
Yes.
instead of writing from your head and trying to write well.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
And so yeah, I know you do. And once I did that, it was a piece of cake. It was a cakewalk.
Wow.
And so if I can do that, then another book's coming.
Oh yeah, I'm very excited. Anybody that reads this book is going to want to see this next book. So
Oh,
I'm
gosh,
excited.
thank you. Thank you so much. You're so generous and kind.
Well, I'm pressuring you.
Thank you.
No, I'm please hurry up and get this book
Well,
done.
the last person who pressured me and challenged me about writing a book won
Oh,
out, and here's the book. All because of that. I
okay. Well,
had
then I'm
two
going to
people
check. I'm going to
challenge
check
me
in on
about
you.
it.
I'm going to check on you every day on you every day and ask, well, what's happening?
Well,
You started? Did you get chapter 2 done?
well,
Yeah.
I, I meet with my writing coach tomorrow for a one-on-one session. I'll be sure and tell her that I have a new challenge. She'll love it. She'll be good. She'll say, good, let's get going here
Okay. So that's tomorrow, huh?
tomorrow.
Okay. I want to hear about that. So
Yeah.
check in with me.
So we'll see what happens.
Well,
Yeah.
so where can people find you and Good Grief, your book? Tell us
Well,
where we can find you.
uh, well, Good Grief is being sold on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. It's now in audio version. Um, so just check it out on Amazon or most anywhere that you buy books. I'm on Facebook as Deborah Edgar. I'm on Instagram. You can email me, call me. My email address and phone number are in my book. People can call or write.
And we can bring you food.
Oh, no, don't bring me food. Please, no food. Now, if you want to show up and cut my grass, I'll let you do that.
Or clean your garage.
Or clean the garage. Yes, please clean my garage.
Please come and clean my garage. That's
Yeah.
hilarious.
Or send me for a pedicure or something like that. But no to the food.
Yeah.
I think I told you that after John died, I'd never seen as much bread in one house as I like. I couldn't eat this much bread in 2 years.
You probably never want to eat bread again.
Oh, I'm a bread freak, so maybe that's what people knew about me when they
Oh,
saw it.
well, you didn't tell me that before. That's why they brought you
Even my
bread.
friends were saying, "Oh my God, there's so much bread in this house." It was so sweet. It was just so sweet.
I
But
love
yeah,
it. Also, do you have a blog that people
I
can,
do have a blog.
what is it?
It is called lifeinterrupted.blog.
.blog. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Lifeinterrupted.blog.
Lifeinterrupted.blog. Make sure you go there so you can
Blog.
everything. Blog,
Yeah.
B-L-O-G.
I
Is there
write
anything?
about I write about wrinkles. I write about wrinkles and what to do about those, and
Oh,
you
okay.
know,
I better find that.
ride, riding a riding a bicycle with a bikini on. Yeah, I write about stuff
Okay.
like that.
Will this stuff be in your new book?
It could be some of it. Yeah, it probably will be. There will be
Okay.
some fun stories in there for sure.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to go look through more of your blog to find these interesting stories. Is there
Well,
anything, is there
I
anything you
had
want
a
to share
drunk.
with us? Is there anything you
I
want to
had
share
a
with
drunk.
us?
Yeah, I had a drunk friend hold my face back to show me what my face would look like if I got plastic surgery. So then I wrote a blog about wrinkles. So you might find it funny and interesting.
That's really kind of your friend to do that.
Yes, it was.
Wow.
I was able to attribute it to her having too much to drink.
Okay. Now let's say that.
That's right.
Is there anything that you want to share with us that I didn't ask you today?
I would share to just please be gentle with yourself. If you are in the grieving process, or if you know someone who is, just approach with gentleness. Be gentle with yourself, be gentle with others, ask questions, say their names. Please say their names, and just know that the sun is going to shine again.
I love it. Thank you so much for coming on the show. This was so
Oh,
great.
thank you. You are just delightful. Thank you so much for having me. I can't wait to continue our discussions.
Oh, and we will.
I
And
know we will.
I'm going to check in every day to see how your book's going. And
Oh my goodness. Oh goodness. I should have never told you that.
yeah, I know. Well, it's too late. So when you
Too late now.
when your next book is done, you can come back to the show and talk all about
Okay.
that one.
I will.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Have
you.
a great
Thank you.
rest of the day.
You too.
Okay.
Take care. Bye
Okay.
bye.
Bye.